Oh, embracing tyranny to own the libs. Yeah, let's go. Let me just change the title. I would love to talk more about politics, but the thing is, when I uploaded the Black Lives Matter video, I realized that people are really sensitive about it. I thought people wouldn't get too sensitive about Black Lives Matter because, well, Black Lives Matter, right? I don't think that's very controversial, but no, I was wrong. People really took it the wrong way. And so, yeah, you know, let's watch this one and see what do we think. I wish I could talk more about politics. I really do, but I don't think people are ready for that. So this
What
is
do you
Russia.
know about Russia? Its politics, the state of its society, its president, which direction the country is heading. Throughout recent months, I was watching old content of mine and streams I appeared on as a guest, with the intention of finding out just how much my political views changed. I got stuck with this live stream that happened 3 years ago. I appeared not knowing the topic after being sent the invite, the topic being Russia, its president, its government, and the relation of Russia with Europe and North America. And I stated my opinion, which I still hold to this day, that sanctions against Russia should not be lifted. And to my surprise, I found that everyone else disagreed with me. This was the first time that I had disagreed with other anti-SJW YouTubers on a topic. And there is something curious about this, something important for the SJW. No one else disagreed with me. This was the first time that I had disagreed with other anti-SJW YouTubers on a topic. And there is something curious about this.
Disagree. So is
Surprise, I found that everyone else disagreed with me. This was the first time that I had disagreed with other anti-SJW YouTubers.
Kraut politically like anti SJW? I really wonder. I thought that Kraut was more of a liberal type of guy. Is he like a centrist? I don't think he's a conservative, is it? He doesn't sound like it, but maybe he is. I don't know.
On a topic. And there is something curious about this, something important for the end of this video, namely, why would you even consider viewing and coming to a conclusion on an issue as complex as Russia through the lens of an obscure and mainly online and American social issue?
Yeah.
Let's go further back to another moment. Between the years of 2014 to 2017, topics and news stories are generally covered in this YouTube sphere like a conveyor belt. A news headline appears is...
I think that's a result of YouTube, isn't it? Because my views politically have also changed widely. And again, I'm not trying not to talk a lot about it, but I've been, on the whole spectrum. Oh, wow. So he started as an anti-SJW. Wow, that's interesting. I'm very into political YouTubers as well, so it's controversial stuff, man. Controversial stuff. I'm just gonna drink.
Given, and then channels move on to the next conveyor belt issue. On this conveyor belt, there were two topics that I abstained from covering. That being when footage emerged from Russia of female protesters getting beaten up by riot police, and when Sweden announced a feminist foreign policy. The footage of female protesters mainly made it into these awful SJW feminism wrecked BTFO compilation videos, or was uploaded to YouTube.
Man, I hate those videos. Well, I mean, they were funny.
General attitude being that those Russians actually have a better idea of how to deal with these people than we do. The Swedish feminist foreign policy was of course an ideal headline to grab, add some...
Oh man, Stefan Molyneux. I think he got banned from YouTube.
I abstained from these topics because I knew what was actually going on. Russia has for years been plagued with an enormous domestic violence problem. To give you a measure of comparison, in the United States, a country with twice the population, an average of 11,000 women become victims of domestic violence each year, with there being 1,800 domestic violence murder victims. In Russia, a country with twice the population, an average of 36,000 women became victims of domestic violence every year, with 3,000 being involved in domestic violence homicides every year throughout the 2000s. By 2013, the number had risen to 9,000 women murdered by their partners every year. Under President Putin, Russian society
Crap.
pushed more and more to the political right in its social attitudes.
Yeah,
Shaped
it's
the
messed up,
social
man.
climate strongly promoted by Putin's government. Traditionalist right-wing movements popped up throughout the country, promoting a vision of a resurrected, better, orthodox past. And within this climate, the same politician who had written, proposed and pushed through Russia's anti-homosexuality laws introduced legislation to decriminalize domestic violence. This might sound insane to you, but this political proposal was widely praised and supported in Russia. The Russian Orthodox Church being one of its biggest supporters, who declared that beatings were a mere blessing which can help
No
prevent
way,
death of
man.
the soul. Protests against this legislation were met with the
We
same
were talking about
contemptuous
religion.
force
Y'all
with which
remember?
The Russian government treated all protests. All of this came to a head in February 2017 when the Russian parliament passed the proposed legislation with only one parliamentarian voting against it. Its changes to the laws in Russia, domestic violence was no longer a criminal felony, but a mere misdemeanor, punished with just a fine ranging from $100 to $500, or 10 days of community service. If a victim of domestic violence wanted to press charges, the burden of collecting evidence would no longer be on the police, but on the victim, like in a civil court dispute. If there was no evidence of physical damage, police were no longer required to even file for a criminal misdemeanor charge, let alone a felony. And police in Russia are no longer required to answer emergency calls reporting domestic violence. In effect,
This
Russia
is-
legalized wife beating in 2017.
Yeah. Wow.
And from February 2017 to 2019, the already bad situation in Russia took a turn for the worse.
You know, let's look this for what this is. This is basically, you know, legalization of beating up another human being. It's messed up. And this is Russia. This is not some conservative Muslim country in Africa. This is Russia, a European nation.
The number of domestic violence victims every year in Russia rose to a staggering 600,000. Domestic
Whoa, no shit, man. 600,000? Whoa, man. What the fuck? Shit. No, it's not even funny, man. Like, it's messed up. Really messed up.
violence now happens in 1 out of 4 Russian families.
Wow.
72% of
Oh, man.
calls to women's national helplines
Oh,
are
man.
passed on to the police. 40% of all violent crimes happen inside families. 67% of all murders are linked to domestic violence. And 12,000 women are murdered by their partner every year. Some estimates put the number as high as 15,000 or even more. This means that in Russia, 38 women are murdered by their partner every single day. This is what you won't see on Russia Today, let alone from any of the other pro-Putin mouthpieces out there.
Russian women live in a post-feminist society, highlighting their femininity and benefiting from it. We don't have to fight for our rights.
The Russian government initially tried to deny these developments, claiming the numbers were fake and produced by Western spies, despite
Man,
the
I'm
fact that
shocked.
the numbers came from Russian institutions.
I come from Mexico where, remember, Mexico is less developed than Russia. It's a country that's more religious than Russia. You know, the word machismo comes from Mexican culture itself. And the problem here is not as bad as that one. And remember, we're a less developed nation. So it's just shocking.
Institutions. More and more people noticed
I need
that the
another
situation
drink.
was worse to such an extent that it could no longer be ignored. Even before decriminalization, some cases were so outrageous they made headlines, such as when a Russian news anchor beat his girlfriend into a coma by cracking her skull and then just dumped her lifeless body outside his house door. After decriminalization, the headlines filled with even more cases so outrageous that they couldn't be ignored. Women who had been assaulted by their husbands were forced to pay the fines for their broke, violent husbands in a twisted perversion of justice. A Russian actor beat his wife to death by smashing a piece of wood laced with nails into her face 69 times. In Murmansk, the autopsy of a 23-year-old revealed her husband had beaten her to death with
A
130
23-year-old.
kicks and punches.
This is a young
Russian
man.
police officer laughed and joked when a woman called her for help. If he kills you, we'll come examine your corpse, she said before
Oh my
hanging
God.
up the phone. 40 minutes later, her boyfriend had beaten her to death. And one of the most shocking cases was that of Anastasia Ovsyannikova. Her boyfriend would beat her on a regular basis. But not enough with that, he would then take his phone and film her bruised and battered body as she would sob and beg him to stop beating her. Then sent those videos to his friends or posted them on Russian social media with comments like, "I know how to keep my woman under control." After she tried to break up the relationship, he dragged her out of a cafe and savagely beat her for several minutes in public without anyone intervening. After he filmed what he had done to her, she fell into a coma and died of her injuries a week later. By late 2018, opinion polls showed that 49% of Russian women believed the most dangerous place for them was their own home. It is at this point possible that the Russia
Shit.
under Putin has become
Oh my God.
place for women to live in Saudi Arabia and other Islamic
Yeah.
countries.
No shit. Yeah, absolutely. Wow.
That's one hell of a thing for a society to accomplish. By December
Imagine your country being worse to women than fucking Saudi Arabia. I mean, it's insane, man. This is Russia. This is a country that's part of Europe. This is supposedly a modern society. And you're telling me that your country is worse at treating women than the fucking country that just let women drive like 2 years ago? Shit, man. This is insane. Yeah, no shit. You were 100% right. I am shocked to the bones. God damn.
2018 and early 2019, the domestic
Wow.
violence rate in Russia became so bad that even the Russian government had almost never admitted to any wrongdoing, let alone mistakes, had to publicly admit that decriminalizing domestic violence had been a colossal
Wow.
mistake. The Russian government is currently trying to lower domestic violence by playing TV ads about how bad it is. No steps, however, have been taken to recriminalize domestic violence. Instead, the politicians who pushed for the decriminalization of domestic violence are now seeking to ban abortion.
Damn. This is pretty hardcore stuff.
The Russian women you saw protesting in the wrecked feminism compilation videos were not blue-haired SJW brats demanding a safe space.
Oh, yeah, no,
Ordinary
absolutely
women
not.
from across Russia who throughout recent years have been vocally protesting what has been happening in their country and what was being done by their government. And the Swedish government's feminist foreign policy, you can read beyond the headlines and will find that it is a policy that is in large a reaction to events in Russia and even directed at Russia. Think of the Swedish left-wing government and its domestic policies what you may. Fact is, it is one of the few governments that actually bothered to condemn events and developments happening in Russia and even decided to do something about it. There is something curious and macabre here, especially when you read through the comments on those awful comments.
All right. Let's read some of these. Man, I see why the left hates Russia. Truth speaking, for those who are a little slow, that means I am not liberal. All right. It's a little creepy when Russian propaganda provides better analysis of current events than CNN and the BBC combined. SJWs don't understand the difference between femininity and sluttiness. Shit, man.
Nation news. What you
God
want
damn.
is an online culture, or at the very least a political culture of engagement that has been built over years and is so heavily influenced and dictated by dividing the world into SJW and not SJW, right-wing good and left-wing bad, that people are unable to see beyond that simplistic two-dimensional perspective and are even spreading and just simply accepting false information. Never mind the fact that to the far-right denizens of the internet, there's probably nothing wrong with wife-beating as long as it's done by a white man. But let's ignore those disgusting cretins for a moment, because it's the culture of skewed perception that I'm truly interested in for this video. Not one of the social justice YouTubers ever managed to fact-check any of this and make a rebuke, which aligns with what I previously said of social justice being an oversimplified way of seeing the world that never goes beyond the Western cultural sphere. You can see this reflected in how many liberals and left-wingers in the United States and the UK stand in opposition to Russia, but never seem to know why beyond the 2016 election. The reason why
Yeah,
I know about what
true.
is going on in Russia is because I lived in a Russian immigrant community in Bavaria, and because in Central Europe people tend to keep up with news from Russia. But even worse than the simplistic way of seeing the world that some left-wingers may engage in is that if you browse through political commentary on YouTube, you will be extremely hard-pressed to find any voices critical of where Russian society is heading. The opposite, in fact.
Paul Joseph Watson with Infowars.com, and this is the truth about Russia's anti-gay law. Now, have you actually read the English translation of the
I hate this
Russian
fucking guy.
anti-gay law? Or have you formed your opinion on it based on what the mainstream media told you?
Russia is seen as a savior of Western civilization by those who opposed social justice and built an online culture in opposition to social justice. Putin, a leader who wishes to preserve national sovereignty in a fight against globalism, a great right-wing alternative to our supposed decadent and whimperish ways of democratic rule, an ally in the struggle
Oh,
against
Lauren Southern.
a force fighting an Islamic menace and creeping Sharia,
A woman,
maybe even
Lauren Southern.
free speech. And this attitude has permeated right out of the internet and into real-world politics. It is being
Oh,
especially
Marine Le
by
Pen.
some
Shit.
rather sinister characters, by some rather dubious far-right political activist groups, but also by political parties and big political influencers who have voiced a similar positive and endearing attitude towards Putin's Russia and the direction it is heading to. The great right-wing protector of tradition and sovereignty.
Yeah, I know. Honestly, do you guys want me to be honest? And I knew I said I wasn't going to talk about politics, but I used to watch that dude too. Like, I used to watch that dude too. And all of them. You know, all of the very right-wing conservative commentators. Now, there's nothing wrong with conservatism, but I think a lot of these people take it way to the extreme. And if you haven't figured out, I am a fairly liberal guy. I am pretty liberal, in fact. But I used to be like that. I used to watch that guy and many others, and I'm not proud about it.
That none of these people who praise him seem to speak any Russian.
На пресс-конференции зашла речь о независимости и суверенитете. Владимир Путин, в частности, отметил, что в современном мире все государства взаимозависимы, а Александр Лукашенко, отвечая на вопросы журналистов, заявил, что Россия и Белоруссия готовы объединиться, если к этому готовы их народы.
The Putin government's respect for foreign countries' sovereignty can be perfectly measured by how it interferes within, violates and bullies the sovereignty of many a sovereign nation. It is one of the most corrupt nations in the world, where the private sector is owned and run by a handful of billionaires and small businesses squashed, a state oil industry owned entirely by the government, and upon which the nation's GDP
All right,
state oil industry
let's
owned
watch.
by a handful of
I want to watch this again. How wealth spread the U.S. versus Russia, and look at that. Less than $10,000, close to 90%. 100,000 to a million, and look, my God.
Billionaires and small businesses squashed, a state oil industry owned entirely by the government and upon which the nation's GDP heavily relies upon. As you know, this economic model, long-term, worked really well for Venezuela, a country in which people are arrested and sent to jail for posting memes on social media that mock the church and government officials, a country with the before-mentioned domestic violence issues, as well as government-tolerated discrimination and violence against gay people, a country in which journalists,
Which that's another one.
critically of the government, conveniently happen to be murdered all the time, a country in which opposition politicians also conveniently happen to be murdered all the time, a country where government officials cast your vote for you, a country with an ever-eroding and collapsing separation of church and state, where backwards and dark church is grabbing more and more power. And if you're one of those who claims that Putin is a great ally in the fight against Islam, well, that part of Russia with a Muslim majority, you know, the one where you can go to jail for drinking alcohol and where gay people disappear, that place is like that because it's under Sharia laws. Russia is in no way, shape or form anything that you could consider part of what some may call the Western world, let alone Western values. The entirety of the pro-Russian attitudes you see represented online.
Look at all of these people, man.
Feelings of left-wing back.
My God.
Russia
I used to watch them all.
Let's, at the end, not forget why Russia is under sanctions.
Да мы тоже на самолете. Там что, еще один раз самолет, что ли?
It's because it murdered European citizens in April 2014 by providing anti-aircraft missiles to Russian militiamen who used them to shoot down a Malaysian passenger airliner with majority Dutch passengers. These militiamen were then caught red-handed in conversation about what they had done.
Yeah, same. It happens. I don't know. I had the exact same thing. I called myself a moderate conservative. I don't know if I was extremely moderate, but I used to watch all these channels, and it took me a while. I remember I watched a channel, maybe some of you know this guy, and I don't watch him right now, but I used to watch a guy called Destiny, and I watched his debates with multiple people like it's Nick Fuentes and Lauren Southern, and those debates kind of changed my mind. I was like, wow, damn, like maybe I'm wrong. Maybe all these people are kind of bad. And throughout time, I just kind of changed my views into now, which I think I am more of a moderate liberal type of guy. But damn, I mean, this video is fucking insane, dude.
And even caught scavenging through the dead bodies in search of jewelry and valuables. A criminal investigation conducted by 4 countries came to the unanimous conclusion that the murder of 298 people is to be blamed on a group of men currently residing in safety and liberty that Russia provides.
It is. It really is. It takes time.
Vanguard of sovereignty should be reminded of this, because sovereignty also means that some Russian gangster doesn't get to murder the citizens of a sovereign country with Russian government support without there being consequences. Whatever stands at the end of this video is something to do with the attitude and ideology that has developed on this sphere of the internet over the past couple of years, which has made an acceptance.
Yeah, bro, absolutely. I'm atheist, 100%, man.
Attitude and delusion, the idea that the world's politics and the political spectrum.
That is true, man. And it's funny because a lot of these creators are getting deplatformed, and I don't think it's wrong. I mean, look at what these people are defending. They're defending this type of stuff. We're talking about the basic human right of not getting beaten, not getting hit by your spouse, by your partner, a person that's supposed to love you. This is a fucking real problem, dude. I can't believe we're talking about Russia being worse for women than Saudi Arabia. It's just insane. It blew my fucking mind.
General is somehow only defined by a battle of power between some far-left globalist cultural Marxism narrative and an anti-globalist right. This way of seeing the world, the idea that this is the definition of all there is to our culture of engagement and politics, is dangerous and simply false. If you're willing to embrace tyrants for the supposed purpose of fighting tyranny, then what the hell have you turned into? What I failed to notice in 2016 and 2017, when the Putin praising started and when ordinary women who protested an actual and urgent women's rights issue were falsely labeled and branded as SJWs for the purpose of preserving an online culture that furthers a simplistic mindset, is that worst of all afflictions, the delusion of being always certain and always right.
Yeah, I could see that. They've helped me too. I mean, I've been over 2 years now that I've been moving towards the left. So it's very recently that I've watched Krauts videos, but the debates of Destiny have helped. I do understand that his content, like Abysmal said, has been kind of weird, and again, that's why I don't watch him regularly. I haven't watched him in months. Hassan honestly has helped me too. I do watch his videos from time to time. I don't have a lot of free time though, so it's not like I can watch videos all day. But I do watch some of Hassan. I've watched videos of Bausch as well. They've helped me a little bit, but again, it's not like I follow him religiously. And some of the people that I get my news from, like Kyle Kulinski or like, what's this other guy? David Pacman. I think I really like those guys. And that's where I get my like news or news commentary, right?
Because your opposition cannot possibly ever be correct about anything. A grotesque simplification that serves no purpose other than to justify a dogma. Liberate yourself from that sinister way of seeing the world, and you will be better off for it.
Thanks for watching. Damn. Damn. Man, this was good. This was really good. You know, I wasn't sure if I was gonna watch this video, but man, thank you, Abysmal, for recommending, because this was absolutely amazing. I mean, amazing in a sense that it's shocking. It's scary, honestly. What's happening to women in Russia and the people are defending it. It's the worst part, I think. Hello there. Welcome to the stream. I'm glad that people are still watching. Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think a lot of people are called close-minded just because you're opposed to someone. But I think if there's people that are defending this, they shouldn't really have a platform to speak to in the first place, because this is dangerous. Like, yeah, I liked it a lot, man. It made me aware of what's going on, because I think a lot more people should listen to. I don't think this is about SJWs or feminism. Again, I think this is a human rights thing. I mean, women are getting bit, and it's legal. Like, that's the worst part, that it's actually legalized, which is horrible. And I don't see why people would. I know that people are not defending that specifically, but they're defending the government who's doing it. And I don't think it should be as political as it is. It's just sad, bro. It's really sad. But I really, really enjoyed it, man. Thanks for recommending. I'm gonna be watching more.